Once upon a time, in a lush forest, lived a sly fox. This forest was a magical place filled with towering trees, vibrant flowers, and the songs of countless birds. The fox, with his sleek red fur and sharp eyes, was known far and wide for his clever tricks and cunning nature. He was known for his clever tricks. In the same forest lived a crow. This crow, with his glossy black feathers that shimmered in the sunlight, was very proud of his appearance. He would often boast to the other animals about his beautiful feathers and his ability to fly high above the treetops. This crow was very proud of his black feathers. He would spend hours preening himself, making sure every feather was in place. The other animals admired him, but they also found his pride a bit annoying. The fox was always hungry, looking for a tasty meal. He would roam the forest, sniffing the ground and peering into bushes, hoping to find something to eat. Despite his cunning, he often found himself with an empty stomach. One sunny morning, he saw the crow perched high on a branch. The morning sun cast a golden glow on the crow's feathers, making them look even more magnificent. The fox, however, was not interested in the crow's beauty. "That crow doesn't look very tasty," thought the fox. He was about to move on when something caught his eye. The crow was holding something in its beak, but wait, what was that in the crow's beak? The fox squinted and realized it was a piece of cheese. A big, delicious piece of cheese. It was a big, delicious piece of cheese. The fox's mouth started to water at the sight of it. He could almost taste the creamy, rich flavor of the cheese. The fox's mouth started to water. He licked his lips and felt his stomach growl. He knew he had to have that cheese, but how could he get it from the proud crow? He had to have it. The fox sat down and began to think. He needed a plan, a clever trick to outsmart the crow and get that delicious cheese. And then an idea began to form in his mind. With a sly grin, the fox looked up at the crow and prepared to put his plan into action. The forest was filled with the warmth of the sun. Light filtered through the leaves, making playful patterns on the ground. The air buzzed with the sound of happy insects. Squirrels chattered as they chased each other up and down trees. Birds sang sweet melodies in their nests high above. The crow had found a perfect spot to enjoy his cheese. It was a sturdy branch on a tall oak tree. From there he could see the whole forest. The crow took a bite of his cheese. "This is the life," he thought. The cheese was a lovely shade of yellow. It had a sharp, tangy smell that made the crow's beak water. He had found it discarded by some picnicking humans. What a lucky find, the crow had thought. He couldn't wait to enjoy his prize. He took another bite, savoring the creamy texture. The crow looked around proudly. None of the other birds had found such a treat. He held his cheese carefully, making sure not to drop a single crumb. Section 4. The Fox's Plan. The sly fox watched from below. He knew he couldn't climb the tree. He had to trick the crow into dropping the cheese. The fox thought hard. He knew crows were proud of their looks. "I'll use that," he chuckled to himself. He took a deep breath and put on his most charming smile. "This is going to be easy," he thought, taking a slow, deliberate step towards the tree. Section 5. Sweet Talk and a Black Feather. "Good morning, Master Crow," called the fox, his voice dripping with fake sweetness. The forest was still, the morning light casting long shadows on the ground. The fox's voice echoed through the trees, breaking the serene silence. The crow looked down, surprised. He had been enjoying a quiet morning, perched high on a sturdy branch, when the fox's unexpected greeting reached his ears. He had never heard the fox speak so nicely. Usually the fox was sly and cunning, always up to some mischief. This sudden change in tone made the crow wary, yet curious. My, don't you look handsome today," cooed the fox. His eyes gleamed with a hidden agenda, but his voice was as smooth as honey. "Your feathers are so sleek and black like polished ebony." The fox's words were like a gentle caress, each compliment carefully crafted to stroke the crow's ego. The crow puffed up his chest, pleased. He had always taken pride in his appearance, but hearing such praise from another creature was a rare delight. No one had ever complimented his feathers before. The crow felt a warm glow of pride spreading through him, making him stand a little taller. "In fact," continued the fox, "I believe you have the most beautiful feathers in the entire forest." His voice was filled with admiration, each word dripping with sincerity. The crow, enjoying the praise, held his head high. He had never felt so appreciated, so seen. The fox's words were like a balm to his soul. But there is one thing. The fox's voice trailed off, his expression turning thoughtful. The sudden change in tone caught the crow's attention. The fox paused, pretending to be deep in thought. His eyes flickered with a cunning light, but his demeanor remained earnest. The crow tilted his head, curious. What could the fox possibly want? He had already showered him with compliments. What more could there be? "What is it?" he croaked. His voice was rough, but there was a hint of eagerness in it. The crow was hooked, eager to hear what the fox had to say next. Section 6. Falling for flattery. "Well," said the fox, "I've heard whispers that your voice is even lovelier than your feathers. Is it true?" The crow, completely taken in by the fox's flattery, forgot all about his cheese. He wanted to prove the fox right. He opened his beak wide to sing his most beautiful song. "Caw, caw," he croaked. The moment he opened his beak, the cheese tumbled out. It fell down, 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 right into the waiting paws of the sly fox. Section 7. A valuable lesson. The fox snatched up the cheese and gobbled it down in one gulp. He laughed, his belly full of cheese. The fox had been watching the crow for a while, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He knew that the crow was proud and easily flattered, and he used this knowledge to his advantage. The cheese was delicious, and the fox felt a sense of satisfaction not just from the meal, but from outsmarting the crow, and his heart full of triumph. The crow, realizing he had been tricked, was devastated. He had been so proud of his cheese, and now it was gone. The crow's pride had been his downfall, and he felt a deep sense of regret. He had been so focused on the fox's flattering words that he hadn't seen the trick coming. He looked down at the fox, his pride replaced with shame. "Caw," he croaked sadly. The crow's heart was heavy with the weight of his mistake. He had been foolish, and now he was paying the price. The fox's laughter echoed in his ears, a constant reminder of his failure. The fox, licking his paws, chuckled and said, "Dear crow, learn from this." The fox's voice was filled with a mix of amusement and condescension. He had no sympathy for the crow, only a sense of superiority. He had won, and he wanted the crow to know it. Flattery is often a trap. The fox's words were a harsh lesson, but a true one. He had used the crow's vanity against him, and it had worked perfectly. The crow had been so eager to believe the fox's praise that he had let his guard down completely. Don't let sweet words blind you to the truth. The crow, now deep in thought, realized the wisdom in the fox's words. He had been blinded by his own pride and the fox's flattery. It was a hard lesson to learn, but an important one. And with that he trotted away, leaving the crow to ponder his mistake. The forest seemed quieter now, as if it too was reflecting on the events that had just unfolded. The crow watched the fox disappear into the trees, a new resolve forming in his heart. He would not be so easily fooled again.